What is Chronopunk? Chronopunk is an offshoot of cyberpunk that evolved to focus on time travel and metaphysical themes, including reincarnation. Society is structured in such a way that time travel is only accessible to those with enough financial capital. The fashion of Chronopunk blends steampunk and cyberpunk, with the distinction being that everything prior to 1948 is split into a separate timeline from 1948 onwards. Essentially, everything after World War II is split into a separate timeline. Generally, characters would time travel between the time that time travel was invented to usually no further back than 1793, and generally only to places that share the same language that the character speaks. In my work, that means usually visiting or traveling 18th or 19th century France. Chronopunk Gothic. This blends the genre of chronopunk with gothic romance, with a focus on learning about ladies of true crime and their path to execution by guillotine. The love interest historically had often also been their executioner, when the primary conflict being the desire to see justice served and humanity to the condemned. Often the color palette would be black, white, and blood red, the staple palette being black and white and color splashes of red. Some inspiration is also derived from novels like Dracula and Castle of Otranto, among other Gothic fiction. Prototype genres. The prototype subgenres include guillotine western and cyberpunk fiction. I would also label Yume Mori as a prototype subgenre, while a prototype that evolved into Chronopunk. Guillotine Western focuses on a future Wild West where society is divided between Japanese territories and French territories. Generally, the main form of capital punishment is the national razor, and execution of bandits and murderesses are switched to indoor prisons. It blends neo-colonialism and neo-Western. Cyber-Gothic fiction can be thought as a hybrid of cyberpunk and Gothic fiction. Some prominent examples of movies that came before include Blade and Underworld. And then mine, Yume Mori, a method of overlapping dream worlds that create ripples in reality. A type of fabric that enables overlapping dreams. Specifically, this fabric often takes over the fabric of balcony windows, similar to novels like Peter Pan, with the main distinction being that in the future, such fabric is also harnessed by technology to influence people at the subconscious level. And I've linked to a website that goes more into the specifics of that prototype subgenre. Societies of Chronopunk. Shinsei-topia. Society structured around the chaotic shifts between reincarnation to factor in souls that refuse to move on and cause chaos in the material world. Can be viewed as a subgenre of dystopian fiction. Often this is the main conflict that sets the plot of Chronopunk in motion. Now I will go over some core concepts. There's a reincarnation myth, and at its core works by the death of one's original body, prompting the limbo body to re-inhabit the duplicate body. Often said duplicate body will be in a child version of the adult body and is considered a distinct entity from one's offspring. The offspring, if the person had them, is tasked with guiding the limbo body to the new body. In general, the duplicate body will be made by a priest in the town you currently reside in, and thus those who travel a bit will often be switched to the duplicate body after the death of a previous adventure in the new town they visited. Here the goal becomes less ending the cycle of reincarnation, but rather learning from one's mistakes in a previous incarnation. Those whom were executed a lot in previous bodies are considered bad omens, while those whom died of old age are considered the best good omens. Sources of horror, a la bad omens. Being unable to secure a duplicate body as a punishment, dark priest, revenge. A lack of children to care for the duplicate. Infertility, stillbirth. Having a child whom had a grudge against the adult version. The executioner of karma. Town with duplicate body is abandoned, leaving duplicate unattended. They morph into the prisoner in black. Generally, such storytellers are those on their way out or constantly bedridden, whom seek to warn society about the dark priest, the stillborn baby, the executioner of karma, and the prisoner in black, who can sometimes be found in abandoned towns, usually as a result of a disaster like a collapsed mine shaft. Often you will also have the antithesis to the main bad omens, the priest in white, the infant, the warden in white, among other assistants. The dark priest is neutralized by the priest in white, the stillborn is neutralized by the duplicate infant, and the warden can free the prisoner in black. How does this differ from cyberpunk? Cyberpunk fiction generally focuses on one timeline, generally anything from the 1980s to early 2000s. It focuses on high-tech and low-life and is argued to now be considered retro-futuristic. While Chronopunk borrows elements from high-tech low-life, the main focus is on high strangeness in low-life, with a blurry soup between the subconscious, time travel, and reincarnation.